Do stones carry consciousness? Welcome to another YouTube video of mine, and in this one I really want to entertain the possibility whether or not ancient structures actually had the possibility to store consciousness. And this may seem crazy, but I have a lot of things that indicate a possibility of such. And to just highlight that a little bit, I wanted to go into the stones used in various ancient sites. And it seems that ancient people knew exactly which types of stones they needed. Otherwise, they would have went so much overboard with getting specific stones to specific locations. To give an example, in Stonehenge, the blue stones of the inner circle of the monument actually were transported there from Wales, 240 kilometers away. And a similar thing can even be said for the Great Pyramid of Giza in Egypt, where the granite blocks of the king's chamber that weigh up to 80 tons, by the way, were transported there from over 900 kilometers away, all the way down south from Aswan. So, what sense does that make? If they're just, scientifically speaking, would it really just be the best stone to use for this specific construction? Or is there a deeper purpose behind it? And that's what I want to talk about. So stay tuned and I'll plead my case whether or not stones can carry consciousness. Enjoy. Ancient sites all over the world are built from megalithic stones that have a percentage of crystals within them. Quantum physics prove what ancients already knew. Everything is energy. The crystals in the stone is like the mind in the body. And let me explain that. In the Cretaceous, when Solon visited Egypt, the Egyptian priest said, "And whatever happened, either in your country or in ours, or in any other region of which we are informed, if any action which is noble or great, or in any other way remarkable has taken place, all that has been written down of old and is preserved in our temples. Whereas you and other nations are just being provided with letters and other things which states require, and then, at the usual period, the stream from heaven descends like a pestilence and leaves only those of you who are destitute of letters and education. And thus you have to begin all over again as children and know nothing of what happened in ancient times, either among us or among yourselves." At first thought, I was like, hieroglyphs, easy, maybe they just aren't flushed away as easily. But then I had the idea, what if they were able to store consciousness within the stone itself? Just look at the Great Pyramid and the amount of energy it emits. We know that the pyramids weren't tombs for actual pharaohs, since there was no mummy ever found in any pyramid. But what if that tomb is meant in a more metaphysical sense? It was the tomb of the consciousness of the pharaoh, the memory of the pharaoh. So I was watching this video by Museum of Tarot the other day, and I was in a rabbit hole researching these glasses that he has. And they're made of Dionysin, which is basically an element that allows you to see auras of places and energy emittance of stones, if you will. And that was fascinating to me. And that, to me, further proves that idea of how we may have looked at these ancient places from a different perspective than they did, right? Because we think in a very three-dimensional sense. Like, of course, nowadays we see the spiritual meanings behind a lot of these places, but I mean how they carry information, right? For the Great Pyramid, it was always like, oh yeah, the wisdom of the ancient world is contained in the mathematics of it. And I think that's true, but what if there's a deeper sense behind that too? It's a tomb of a pharaoh, and you have a sarcophagi in there, right? Because you have an empty container that you don't really quite understand, because there was no mummy found in it. It doesn't look like a regular tomb. So that the Great Pyramid is a tomb for a physical pharaoh, I'm not sure. But what if the memories of the pharaohs are being stored in the pyramids? And that's a crazy idea. But I watched another of Museum of Tarot's video where he was in Germany, and he was laying in a Templar tomb, right? And he said it's for like death and rebirth rituals. but he had a meditation in there in which he really saw runes and he felt like he was communicating with the consciousness of the site. And of course, to make that scientific is very difficult. It's a very subjective experience, but nonetheless, that shouldn't be disregarded in this. And I think especially if you clicked on this video, especially if you are as passionate about spirituality or like ancient history as I am, then you may understand the significance of subjective experiences, like even, that's all religious texts, really. What I mean by that is, what if these tombs or the sarcophagi that we find in the Great Pyramid were there for people to lay in it and transfer their consciousness directly into the crystals that are between the stone? And it makes so much sense to me right now. If the pyramid was a tomb in the metaphysical sense, that people were able to store consciousness there, maybe that is also the reason why so many historical figures spend a night alone in the king's chamber of the Great Pyramid. Most famously, arguably, Napoleon Bonaparte in 1799. He and his mission to Egypt is very interesting as a whole, because he was actually the one, together with his troops, to find the Rosetta Stone, which allowed us to translate hieroglyphs. But many figures before and after him did the same thing. Alexander the Great, Julius Caesar, Aleister Crowley apparently. Napoleon went in there and he just talked, like he went out at dawn and he was pale and frightened and he didn't talk about what he saw. But I wonder what happens if you spend a night, an entire night, like meditating, consciously aware of where you are and what effect it has. I'm getting goosebumps thinking about it. Like, that must be an absolutely incredible experience. And I think that's why they did it. There is something about that monument, and there is something about stone carrying consciousness. I have an even wilder theory. What if through that connection they were able to construct these monuments? Because we do not understand how the Great Pyramids were built. Even with modern day technology, we struggle to move a 2-ton block that they allegedly cut, carved, transported, and put into place every 2 minutes for 20 years straight in order to build this pyramid. Could they have possibly mentally reformed the stone to change its appearance? Man, I'm feeling full crazy scientist vibe right now, I mean, my hair is not a lot, but it's like, man, I swear, this is metaphysical proof that pyramids are tombs of consciousness. I don't know, but I'm fascinated by the idea, and I'd love to investigate that notion more and do proper scientific research somehow on trying to see if that theory holds any truth within it. That's it. Thank you for watching. Do you think stones can carry consciousness? And if you want to support what I'm doing, if you want more types of videos like that, check out my Patreon. I'd be really happy to see some support on there. You can book a tarot card reading with me in the link down below, or you can even check out my clothing line that I just recently launched and I'm very proud of, because it's a dream of mine to have a clothing line for the past 7 years. So yeah, thank you all so much, have a blessed day, and I hope to catch you soon.